Hey, what's up, Skyball? Come here with Imagination Creation Films, and today, well, we're taking a deep look into the new Red Digital Cinema V-Raptor, and oh yeah, it's everything I hope for, and more. Well, today's review is a good one, so get ready. You know what else is good? Subscribing. Yeah, subscribing to this channel. And it's a good time to do it too. And be sure to turn on all those notifications so you'll be alerted when I upload the next video. And if you want to be part of the Cool Kids Club, comment below that you just did that. But commenting below will not actually make you a member of the Cool Kids Club. Clicking notifications will, but not actually. Also, I want to thank Breakthrough Filters for loaning me this amazing camera for the quick test. I've been beta testing and using their new variable ND for, well, about a year now. And let me say, it is truly incredible what they have built. Look for a review video on that filter coming up very soon. And, well, you know, they're starting to ship now, so it's really worth your time to take a look. That's at cinemadfm.com. That's the website for the new cinema line, right, like this. But they also have a photo line, so yeah, check them out. Now, let's see what I've been able to shoot with this over the past week. Let's get into it. First, let me say that no, V-Raptor is not for everyone. It checks off a ton of boxes, but if those boxes don't apply to you, then well, it's not going to make sense. Now, Red V-Raptor is a full-frame VistaVision 8K 17 stops of dynamic range cinema camera that can shoot 8K 120 frames a second and up to 600 frames per second at lower resolutions. Now, it's a small, powerful little box that, well, it brings a smile to my face and possibly yours too. Now, if you don't like Red because, well, you haven't seen anything cool enough to cause you to consider it, well, you probably should check out the V-Raptor. And if you don't like Red because you think it's cool to not like Red, well, this is not the review or the camera for you. Okay, pumpkin? Now, I'm not a you must buy this camera guy. It's just not who I am. And frankly, it's simply not a true statement that can be made by anyone, well, anyone but you. What I will say is that I am going to buy this camera. Now let's take a look at why. Now, every good manufacturer learns from their wins and their failures. Rather, they innovate from where there was a deficit, and they simplify where there was an abundance of complexity. Well, Red did just that with the new V-Raptor. The first thing I want to point out is how Red has adapted over the years, and well, they've listened to their customers. There have been a lot of complaints about the price of Red media over the years, and while I completely understand it from the business side of Red and also the customer side, it didn't stop people from complaining. The big complaint was that Red was gouging their customers for what seemed like off-the-shelf storage. Well, in truth, there was a whole lot more to the story than just high-priced media. Tons of testing, validations, cost of engineering, etc. It all adds up, and Red wanted to make sure that when you show up on set with the Red hardly ever fails. And well, that's what a good manufacturer should do. Red did this extremely well with the SMC2. But Red listened and figured out where they could make some changes. Now, they started with Komodo and they went to CFast cards. There were still approved cards and non-approved cards, and well, those should and should not be used respectively, but you could ultimately buy any approved card you wanted and feel confident in the Red shows up on set and hardly ever fails principle. Well, you kind of have to say hardly because, well, it is an electronic device and, well, anything can fail. It's just limiting that to accidents, really. It just, yeah, take it down to a minimum. Now, when it came to the V-Raptor, the data rates went way up over Komodo, and while Red could have gone back to their own media, they listened again and used off-the-shelf high-performance standard CFast Express Type B. Now again, there are approved cards and non-approved cards, and I would personally never show up on set without approved media. It's my reputation at stake, and well, this is how I'm assuming Red feels as well. They have a reputation to uphold, but they gave where they could to address their customers' concerns. So now you have a choice in media, so that complaint is now null and void. Next, their monitors. Some customers complained that, well, their monitor prices were too high, so Red partnered this time with Small HD to make their new monitor. Now, in fairness, those monitors haven't shipped yet. I hear very soon, but I didn't get the chance to play with that, so yeah, sorry, more on that later, but ultimately Red removed that complaint as well. The next was the expensive add-on modules just to make it work. Well, with V-Raptor, Red included pretty much everything that you need in the basic body. Now, there will be some other options coming, but you don't have to immediately buy options just to make it work. So another complaint, null and void. Now, what you end up with is this. You buy a fully featured, fully usable brain right out of the box. You buy whatever approved media you want, and you can buy whatever approved micro V mount you want. And you can even connect whatever SDI monitor you want and just start shooting. There are a host of ports on the back. There is USB-C, which supports GigE via USB-C network adapter, an audio port that supports 2 balanced phantom power channels, 2 independent SDI ports, which you can do 2 different signal paths out of it, an EXT port for a variety of sync and timecode options, as well as a headphone jack, a Wi-Fi antenna, and a power adapter port, and as well as a micro V-mount plate in the back. Now, I'm told that a gold mount adapter is coming soon, as well as a V-mount to micro V-mount adapter, so you can use full-size V-mounts as well. On the side, we have, well, this little screen with a variety of quick options and buttons to navigate the menu. The menu is very similar to Komodo with some expansions, and well, there are pages for each main section that you might use: audio, exposure, focus, etc. And there are 3 custom pages that you can enable and then set up and customize exactly how you want, well, to make your own. Navigating the screen isn't bad, but the Komodo Smart Handle does kind of get in the way a bit at times. But that being said, when you can control it with the monitor, you're not going to care. So yeah. Now, there is no top screen on the body, and well, the side screen does not show video, so you'll need a monitor to see what you're shooting, pull focus, etc. Or you can use the Red Control app on your iPhone or Android and access all the functions of the camera remotely using your phone through Wi-Fi or direct USB connection right here in the back. And even tap autofocus. Well, we'll get to that in a little bit here. Now, the Red V-Raptor is a VistaVision sized sensor. Now, what that means is it's basically full frame with the small little tweaks of dimensions there, but shooting with a full frame sensor is quite a treat, and well, it's quite eye-opening as well. I guess, yeah, there's not really a pun there, but insert pun here. You can use that Super 35 glass, but well, you'll be shooting at about 5 to 6K to cover it properly. So make sure you have some full frame glass if you want to shoot that full 8K goodness. And goodness is where this just keeps getting better. Now the V-Raptor sensor is the same size as the Monstro sensor. And many people think that it's basically the same, but it's actually an entirely new sensor, learning from everything that they have made in the past and making this new one. Now, a little caveat, because Monstro was so good, don't expect massive changes in quality over Monstro. Now, there are laws of diminishing returns, and well, that being said, there is a significant improvement in low light ability and low noise in the shadows. In fact, it's quite good, and this is where the dynamic range really hits. Now, to be able to have detail in the shadows while you're blasting the sun in the same shot and still have all those highlights, well, that's simply remarkable. Now, the sensor readout is more than double the speed of Monstro, so rolling shutter is even less than Monstro. But let's be clear, there is still rolling shutter. I could get some rolling shutter to appear, but it was some seriously fast action that did it, and well, you're not likely to experience it this close, this fast. That was kind of an extreme. Now, this is not a global shutter camera like Komodo, but this is without a doubt their best sensor yet. Now, the new body is smaller than DSMC2, and it looks like a little bigger than Komodo. But under the hood, there is a ton of horsepower. All those high frame rates get the processing power that they need to exist. So big smiles here. Yeah. Inside, you'll even get a built-in web server so you can control the camera from your iPad or your computer, or you can provide a wireless video feed so your producers can monitor directly from their iPads. Something that I've done many times with Komodo, and well, quite frankly, they loved it. Just type in the IP address of the camera on your iPad or computer, and there it is. You can have full control over it. Now, if you add port 9090 at the end, well, you get full screen video. Now, there are quarter 20s all over the camera, and well, that offers some very flexible mounting options for you. The new red small HD monitor mounts wirelessly using the top pogo connector, which this is currently using, and it has a few tricks up its sleeve, but since I don't have it to test, I can't really show or review it, but I do hear good things though. Yeah, when it comes out, I think a lot of people will understand what it's doing and why, and I'm looking forward to that. Now, the lens mount on the front is an RF mount, but unlike Komodo, it is a locking RF mount, so it holds your lens, well, much tighter. And if you need a PL, well, there's a lot of converters out there. The breakthrough drop-in converter, well, it's pretty nice, cinematography.com. No, this isn't sponsored by them. I just wanted to show some love for them loaning this camera to me. I mean, allow me that. Now, the fan does make some noise, but it is quieter than Komodo, and it's much quieter than DSMC2. Now, I didn't get a chance to test the audio because, well, I was missing one key part, the audio cable. So, yeah, I apologize for that. I really was hoping to test it, though, because I'm excited to see if they progressed on the audio. Now, many were complaining that, well, everyone was showing off high frame rate stuff and not regular 24 FPS. Me? No, y'all were complaining about me. I mean, I get it. But also, it's better than Monstro. The sensor is better than Monstro, and we know what Monstro looks like. So shooting the same thing a Monstro can do isn't really showing what a camera can do if it's better slightly. But Monstro is already so good. Shooting what a Monstro can't do, that's what I'm interested in. And quite seriously, 8K 120 frames per second is still 8K. It's still 17 stops of dynamic range. So I was shooting what the sensor can really do. And I am not beyond posting 45 minutes of ping pong balls bouncing on a table. don't tempt me. Now, a note about high frame rates. Shooting high frame rates requires a ton of light, and well, it will expose where some lights start to fall apart. For instance, I love aperture lights, and they are really spectacular, but even their 600D, which has a very high frequency and a very high output, well, it can show up when recording at high shutter speeds required to capture, well, a fast-moving target at 480 frames a second. So be warned. I mean, think about it. If it's at a frequency of 20,000 and this is at a shutter speed of 1/4000th, it's going to create a little bit of some issues there. So the best way to not see that is don't use dimmers, use scrims, and yeah, use your lights at max output. Or, I mean, invest in the highest quality light that you can to shoot high frame rates. But I had no problems using it. I just learned a little bit about it. Now, speaking of frame rates, I thought it was pretty cool that the frame rate can just be typed in manually. You just type it in on the side. So you can get that exact frame rate that you want. Now, I'm told this option cannot be added to Komodo for several reasons. So sorry, we're not gonna get that one on Komodo, but yeah. Time lapse for both Komodo and V-Raptor are coming soon. I hear Komodo is as soon as November. So, yay for time lapse. Now let's go through some of the pros and cons of the V-Raptor. Pros: autofocus is a freaking champ. Komodo was pretty good. It wasn't perfect, but it's also still evolving. But V-Raptor right out the gate is quite snappy and quite accurate. And I've heard through the grapevine, Jared, that there's a little extra hardware inside the V-Raptor for future use of, say, I don't know, head tracking. Yeah. So the size and the weight is pretty nice. 4 pounds isn't a featherweight, but you know, every pound counts in the end. So I appreciate the 4 pounds a lot, especially compared to, well, some of these can weigh a little bit more. Now, the image is absolutely stunning. Shooting 8K RAW is something, well, I never really get tired of doing. It's clean, the dynamic range is unmatched, and it just looks great. The price, let's be honest, the price is going to be high for some, and that's understandable. Again, this isn't a camera for everyone. But if you look at where things came from and where they are today, it is an extremely affordable price. A few years back, it was $80,000 to get a Monstro. And now, well, you can get better than a Monstro for $25,000. I'm gonna say it, that's fucking cool. Cons, well, it consumes a ton of media. You can blast through terabytes of data really fast. The 660 gig card equals 13 minutes of 8K 120 frames a second. Now at 8K 24 frames a second, you get 24 minutes in HQ, 35 minutes in NQ, and 56 in LQ. So I put it as a con only because, well, you're going to be buying a lot of hard drives to store the data. In a week, just 1 week, I've shot 12 terabytes of data. That's adding up pretty quick. Now another con is the up and downs buttons on here are backwards in my brain for going up in shutter and ISO, etc. It's weird. You press the up button to go down in ISO and you press the down button to go up. And the same thing with shutter. Other people say it doesn't bother them at all, but you know, I'll point out what I see and, well, you could just judge for yourself. Another is it rips through a battery in a little more than an hour. It is remarkable how little power this powerhouse pulls and what it's doing in the grand scheme of things, but it's also incredible how fast it can use a battery. Well, maybe Komodo spoiled me because, I mean, you get like 3.5 hours out of it. I'll be glad when the higher capacity micros come out and when the V-mount adapters are available as well. That will change how this, well, it won't change how much power it draws, but it will change how often you have to swap out the battery. Now, I've talked a ton about this camera in this review, so there's so much more that I want to say, but I honestly didn't want this review to be 25 minutes long. And the strange thing is about YouTube is people only ever watch the first 1/3 of a video. It's the strangest metric I've ever seen. So the best thing to do is to ask you for questions and comments that, well, I didn't cover. Is there anything that you wanted me to cover that I didn't allude to or talk about? Put those down below. What question do you have about the camera that I forgot? And well, ultimately, what do you think of the new Red V-Raptor? Let me know in the comment section down below. And remember to support this channel with, well, channel memberships. I appreciate all my members, I really do. You are what helps make this channel continue. If you don't want to become a member, you can leave a tip or use one of my affiliate links to support. I greatly appreciate those too. I appreciate each and every one of you. And now, remember, like and subscribe, turn on all notifications, and as always, as I like to leave it, don't let your passions center around your life, let your life center around your passions.